Hi guys, today I'm going to read The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs. And this is by Shirley Ray Redman. And the selection is illustrated by Tacy Schuett. So as we read this, we're going to be looking at facts and opinions. We've talked about this before. Remember, a fact is something that can be proved to be true or false. An opinion is what someone believes or feels. Authors often use facts to back up or support their opinions. So as we read this, there's going to be true facts, and we can prove they're facts because there's something that you can prove to be true, and there will also be opinions in the story. And it'll tell us, those opinions will tell us about how a character feels or believes in something. So again, this is The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs. We are looking at fact and opinion. This is also a biography, so it tells about someone's life. So as we read this, I want you to look for information about why a person is important and events in time order. So as we read this, since it's a biography, it's going to talk about someone and why they're so important to learn about. A long, long time ago, there was a little dog named Trey. He was black and white all over. He had friendly brown eyes and a very wiggly tail. Trey lived in England. Trey was a real dog, and this is an honestly true story about him. So far we know that this story is going to tell us about Trey. Trey was an actual real dog who lived a long time ago. This is Trey down here. Trey loved two things most in the whole world. First, he loved Mary Annie. She was 12 years old and lived with her family in a small cottage near the beach in Lyme Regis. Secondly, Trey loved going with Mary to dig for fossils. So here's Mary Annie. She's also a real person who owned Trey. So, what are fossils anyway? They are the remains of animals and plants that died a long time ago. When a leaf or bone gets pressed between layers of sea mud, it leaves an imprint. After many, many years, the mud hardens to rock. So right here, it's showing us a photograph of a fossil. And the author put this in here so that we could see what this fossil would look like. And you can kind of tell it almost looks like a seashell. And I'm assuming it looks like a seashell because they live by the beach. Trey and Mary knew that they would find the best fossils high up on the cliffs around the beach. They climbed up there every day. They sniffed the rocks, sniff, sniff. He pawed the dirt, scratch, scratch. Mary used a small hammer and chisel, tap, tap, tap. With these tools, Mary carefully cut fossils out of the cliff, just as her father had shown her. Trey watched as she placed the fossils in her basket. Most of them looked like seashells. Mary and Trey sold them as souvenirs to the tourists that came by stagecoach to swim at the beach near their home. So this right here is a stagecoach. That's what they mean by tourists should come in by those. One day, Trey and Mary discovered some very large bones sticking out of the rocks. They were huge. Trey growled and tried to dig the bones out. Mary used her hands to brush away the loose dirt. "Trey, we discovered a monster," she declared. The bones were much too big for Trey and Mary to remove by themselves. "I'll go for help," Mary said. "You stay here, Trey." Trey barked loudly and sat down in front of the bones. He was a very good guard dog. So let's look at this sentence right here. Trey, we've discovered a monster. I would say that this is actually an opinion because this is how Mary feels about what they found. She thinks it looks like a monster. Mary ran all the way back to town and asked some grown-ups to help her. Trey and I have found something really special in the cliff, she told them. Just wait and see. When the men saw the giant rib bones in the side of the cliff, they were amazed. What a beast, they cried. Look at those sharp teeth. Is it a crocodile, one man asked, or a stubby whale? We don't know what it is, Mary admitted. But we know it's something special, don't we, Trey? Trey yipped and wagged his tail. A rich man who lived nearby heard about the sea monster. He hurried to see it for himself. I'll buy it, he cried. I will give it to the British Museum in London. Do you know what it is? Mary asked. It's called an ichthyosaur, the man told her. That means fish lizard, he explained. It's like a dinosaur with fins. So this right here tells you how to pronounce that word. So let's look at this fact and opinion question down here. What is Mary's opinion about what she finds? What facts do you learn about it? Well, if we look back on this page, she says, we don't know what it is, Mary admitted, but we do know it's something special, don't we, Trey? So her saying it's something special, that's her opinion, because that's how she feels about it. She believes it's something special. Some facts we could look at, or we could gather from this, is that it does have fins. We can see that. It looks like it has sharp teeth. We can see that. And it's called an ichthyosaur. That is a fact. Those are facts because we can prove those to be true. The amazing news spread about that gigantic fish lizard and the dog and the little girl who had found it. Soon, many strangers came to Lyme Regis, where Mary and Trey lived. They all wanted to hunt for fossils too. The men wore tall top hats. The women wore frilly bonnets. They carried pretty umbrellas called parasols. Mary shook her head and smiled. She rubbed Trey's soft ears. They watched the strangers together. They don't have the right tools, Mary whispered. They are wearing the wrong kinds of shoes, aren't they, silly Trey? Trey yipped and chased his tail. So Mary's opinion of these people are they don't have the right tools and they're kind of wearing silly things. So do you think it's silly that these women are carrying around these parasols? Well, Mary's opinion is that she does think they're silly. Curious scientists visited Lyme Regis too. One man came from the University in Oxford. His name was William Buckland. He went to the old carpenter shop where Mary and Trey sold their fossils. Can you show me where you found your ichthyosaur, young lady? He asked politely. Do you think you could find the exact spot again? Trey can find it, Mary boasted. Why would Mr. Buckland want to see the exact place where Mary and Trey found the ichthyosaur? Well, probably because he wants to study the area and find more dinosaur bones there. Since they already found a big one, he's hoping that they find more there. Together, Mary and Mr. Buckland followed the little dog across the beach and up the cliffs. They sniffed the rocks. Sniff, sniff. He pawed the dirt. Scratch, scratch. Suddenly he yipped. Then he sat down. Mary pointed. It was the exact spot where she had discovered the strange fish lizard. What an intelligent dog, Mr. Buckland declared. Trey wagged his tail. So here's another opinion. Mr. Buckland believes or thinks that Trey is an intelligent dog. And it's a fact that he did find the exact spot where the ichthyosaur was. Trey and Mary continued to dig for fossils. They were very careful. Mary watched for falling rocks like her dad had told her. Trey looked out for storms and high tides. Then one day they discovered another giant creature. Look, Trey, Mary cried. Is it a sea dragon? Trey sniffed the skeleton and snapped at it with his teeth. The creature had a long, long neck. Its backbone was like a humped turtle shell. Instead of feet and legs, it had 4 large paddles. But it wasn't a sea dragon. Mr. Buckland called it a plithiosaur. That's how you pronounce that. Plithiosaur. One day, Trey and Mary found a fossil that no one in England had ever found before. This one had huge, bony wings like a bat and a long, sharp jaw. Trey growled, "It looks like a gigantic flying lizard," Mary declared. The scientists thought so too, and that's why they named it a pterodactyl. That means lizard with wings. Over the years, Trey, Mary, and Mr. Buckland became good friends. They showed him where to find the best fossils in Lyme Regis. So how does the photo, look at this photo, how does this photo help us understand the creature the author is describing? Well, this just gives us the skeleton, but we can see that it looks like it had wings at one point. And so this photo helps us understand what it looked like. It had like a long beak type thing with teeth. And we can see what it looked like. That's why it would give us this real photograph. Mr. Buckland brought books about dinosaurs for Mary. He brought beef bones for Trey. Mary, with Trey on her lap, studied her books every day. When Trey's whiskers turned gray and Mary was all grown up, they still collected fossils and sold them in the old carpenter shop. There were boxes and baskets filled with fossils on the floor and on the shelves. Some of the fossil creatures were so big they couldn't fit through the door. Sometimes children and tourists stopped in to buy fossils of ancient sand dollars or tiny fish in curly shells. Many scientists came to the shop to buy fossils too. They brought carts and wagons to haul away the really large ones. Trey and Mary Anning became very famous. Today, if you go to the Natural History Museum in London, you can see the large fossils they discovered together. You could also see a famous painting of Mary holding her fossil basket, and Trey, the dog that dug for dinosaurs. So here you can see the picture. You can see her holding her chisel and her basket because those are the things she took with her when she went looking for fossils. So that shows why she's famous. And why is she famous? Well, she found fossils and scientists came to her for fossils. Let's look at this question right here, author's purpose. What is the author's purpose for writing about Mary and Trey? Why would the author write about this story? Well, the author wrote about this to teach us about Mary Anning and her dog Trey and why they're so important. They found lots of fossils that we have learned about today and still learn about today.